The so-called arms trade treaty, currently being discussed at the United Nations headquarters in New York City, really is a backhanded attempt to attack the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. It is an assault on the traditional American right to keep and bear arms. What this treaty would do is empower an international body to, in furtherance of the objectives of the treaty, regulate the domestic transfer of arms within the member countries, including the United States of America. For years, the proponents of this treaty have been seeking a way to do an end run around the politics of the United States to upend our freedoms, our rights. People in the United Nations have been saying that people in the United States really shouldn't have to worry about their rights under the Constitution, especially their Second Amendment rights, because that is not an objective of the treaty. However, the regulation of small arms and ammunition are specifically included in the proposed text of the treaty. The treaty, which the United Nations is expected to formalize this week by acceptance. It is, without a doubt, then, an horrendous attack on the people of the United States, on our Constitution, on our sovereignty. Now, of course, the United States does not necessarily have to ratify the treaty. The President of the United States, who has indicated that he approves this treaty and wants to ratify it, cannot ratify it without the advice and consent of the United States Senate. Now, that's under the Constitution of the United States. However, the Constitution of the United States provided that the advice and consent of the Senate, that is, the approval of the Senate, comes about with a two-thirds vote of the senators present, not a two-thirds vote of the total complement of the Senate, which is now at 100. Now, a quorum of the Senate, as it is currently constituted, is 51 members. That means that two-thirds of the quorum, that is a minimum of two-thirds of the 51 senators who would be present in constituting a quorum, could advise and consent, could approve this treaty. What that means is that only 34 members of the United States Senate could approve this treaty and enable the President to ratify it, and thereby commit the United States to the provisions of the treaty. Now, even though a majority of members of the United States Senate already have indicated that they oppose any attempt to undermine the individual Second Amendment civil rights of Americans under the Constitution, this would not prevent a clandestine attempt on the part of supporters of the treaty to try to get 34 members of the Senate to approve the treaty, provided they could get a total of 51 senators there at any given time, such as under the cover of darkness, or when people in the United States are concentrated on something else, or something of that nature. The only way, really, that the United States can prevent itself from being subjected to these international attacks on the rights of American citizens is by getting the United States out of the United Nations and getting the United Nations out of the United States. There's really no good reason, in my opinion, on account of which the United States should be committed to supporting this United Nations, including in allowing it to have its magnificent headquarters in one of our largest cities, that is in New York City. We all know that a lot of the people in the United Nations are really just a bunch of bums. I mean, the United Nations member states include states that are horrendous in their activities, not only against their own citizens, but against citizens of other states. Consequently, it really would be in the interests of the United States, in the interests of the people of the United States, not necessarily in the interest of the elite of the United States, but in the interest of the people of the United States, to kick the UN out of the U.S. and to get the U.S. out of the UN.